It's week 3 NFL review time, baby. Let's begin. Jets versus New England. The game began with Aaron Rodgers finding Alien Lizard for a touchdown, and Rodgers honestly was on his A game for most of the night. And it was against a crappy Patriots team, sure, but it's still impressive by Jets standards. The game was really never in doubt once the Jets scored more than 10 points because the Patriots continued to trot out Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Thank goodness, though, Drake May is able to learn how to throw for 100 yards a game watching Brissett. In fact, Brissett was so bad that May actually got some playing time in garbage time and showed off his versatility with screen passes, handing the ball off, running for first downs, actually making a good throw, and leading his team to 0 points, as the Jets won easily 24-3. I honestly can't think of a bigger moment involving a Jet in New York in the month of September ever. Pittsburgh versus the Chargers. It started out looking like this would actually be an exciting game as the Chargers went up 7-0, but oh, you silly goose, it's the Steelers. They're legally required to make every game they play in boring as fuck. Although, admittedly, this game started off somewhat exciting. Justin Fields tied the game at 7. The Chargers kicked a field goal to go up 10-7. Steelers missed a field goal at the end of the first half. Brandon Aubrey is somewhere shaking his head. The Steelers then tied the game at 10 before Justin Herbert got hurt to make this game completely unwatchable. Justin Fields regressed to being Justin Fields and threw a terrible batted interception, but it didn't matter because the Chargers gained 0 yards in the second half. That's right, 0 yards, playing Taylor Heineke at quarterback. What a waste of a good uniform. TJ Watt had a couple super hard-working sacks, and Justin Fields made one great throw, which led to a long touchdown run to put the game away 20-10 as the Steelers defense ran up their numbers against a crappy quarterback. Steelers are 3-0. I have no idea how they do it. I really don't. At this point, I just give up. I give up. You win, Steelers fans. Green Bay versus Tennessee. No, I am not ready to say I was wrong about Malik Willis because of a couple games, although admittedly Malik Willis did play well in this game, but it's against the Titans, so take it with a grain of salt. Will Levis started the game off respectably, throwing a touchdown pass to tie it at 7, and then shit spiraled out of control quickly. Levis then threw a terrible pick 6, which once again reinforces the notion that he loves putting his balls out there for everybody to see. This is a sex joke, by the way. The Packers then went up 20-7 at halftime before Malik Brady found some random player for a long touchdown on a screen to go up by 20, which essentially ended the game, even though Levis fought back to pad his stats with a touchdown to famous hotel room respecter DeAndre Hopkins, while also having enough class to give us his daily meme of the week when he got sacked and then sat on all in one play, losing a fumble. There were opportunities to be had for the Titans late in the game, but their defense couldn't get anything as Levis just loved being tackled by lots of huge muscular men. Check out this hit. This is ridiculous. Oh my god. Surprised somebody didn't die. The Packers then added a field goal, and that's really how it ended. Shout out to Levis for being a man and throwing an interception deep. That's how real men throw interceptions. Is Jordan Love a system quarterback? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Denver versus Tampa Bay. Alright, I fully admit that I did not see this one coming. No offense to women who take facials. Bo Nix secured his first NFL win in this dominating Broncos win over the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield had the regression that I expected him to have from the beginning of the season after 2 nice games. This was really never competitive. The Broncos went up 17-0 before the Buccaneers put up their only points of the game on a touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield to Chris Godwin. It was 20-7 at halftime. The third quarter saw a bunch of nothing, and the Broncos added a couple field goals in the fourth quarter before the Buccaneers tricked off a great opportunity for some garbage time points at the end to reach the final of 26-7. Philadelphia versus New Orleans. It's Jalen Carter doing what he does best, destroying cars. The Saints went up 3-0 off of a doink, and then the Eagles just proceeded to slam their own dicks in the door over and over again for the next several quarters, but the defense held firm, even after a blocked punt. Derek Carr did next to nothing all day, which I told everybody was going to happen, by the way. The Eagles finally got on the board with a long Saquon Barkley touchdown run to go up 7-3, but following a Saints field goal, Eagles missed a 60-yarder of their own, and then the Saints took a lead, but they left too much time on the clock for Jalen Hurts, who threaded the needle on an amazing throw on 3rd and 16 to Dallas Goedert to get the Eagles on the goal line, which they capitalized on with another Saquon touchdown run and 2-point conversion to go ahead 15-12 before Derek Carr threw a game-losing interception to a white safety, which is just unacceptable for anybody, to give my Eagles a win and a 2-1 record. The Eagles are a dropped pass away from being 3-0, and many people are saying they are one of the best teams in NFL history, which I agree with. Giants versus Cleveland. The game began about as hilarious as you could imagine, with the Giants fumbling the opening kickoff and then Deshaun Watts under the towel throwing a touchdown touchdown pass to put Cleveland up 7-0. There were a lot of punts and it was a very clunky game, but the Giants ended up going on a tear, led mostly by rookie sensation Malik Neighbors. I know there's been a lot of news about Neighbors in the state of Ohio this year, but I think we can all agree this one is really good. Deshaun Watson continued to be horrible as the Giants kept running up the lead. Browns offense basically did next to nothing after the opening play, although they did have a touchdown drive early in the fourth to make it a 6-point game. But despite several chances to potentially get back in the game, Browns offense could do nothing, and the Giants ended up squeaking out with a 21-15 road win. I am all for Malik Neighbors being great if it keeps Daniel Jones in as the Giants starting quarterback. Minnesota versus Houston. Alright, I admit the Vikings are better than I thought, but I still believe they're going to regress, and that includes Sam Darnold, who right now is in MVP conversations, which is insane if you remember him from his Jets days. I picked Houston to win, and sadly they made me look like a gigantic asshole. The game was never close. The Vikings were up 21-0 before the Texans even got on the board. CJ Stroud had one of the worst games of his young career, throwing several interceptions, and the Vikings completely dominated. Sam Darnold threw 4 touchdown passes, because of course he did. I'm just going to remind Vikings fans that Sam Darnold started off great and had a 3-0 record after 3 games in 2021 with the Panthers before he regressed. I also think CJ Stroud struggled because the upcoming election is really weighing on him mentally because he's such a good person. Don't forget to vote, folks. The end zones reminded me to tell you that. Indianapolis versus Chicago. I'm going to tell you right now, this was the most exciting 21-16 game I've ever seen. Both quarterbacks were pretty bad, but they were exciting bad. They weren't boring bad, and that's what really matters. Caleb Williams actually had some nice flashes in this one, although he still had some terrible rookie mistakes too. Both quarterbacks threw multiple interceptions. The Colts struck first though with a long Jonathan Taylor touchdown run. The Bears, being the Bears, then decided to stupidly do a option on 4th and goal from the 1 instead of just doing a quarterback sneak. Somebody left the door open on this Anthony Richardson pass. It seemed pretty harmless at the time, but Caleb Williams completing this Hail Mary to DJ Moore getting stopped at the 1-inch line ended up mattering a lot. Quite possibly the funniest interception I've ever seen. Anthony Richardson's just out there throwing off of vibes, doesn't give a shit about the defense, and that's why I love him. After cutting it to 7-3 after a field goal, Caleb Williams had a bad luck interception, and in this clip we see a black person being pushed to the white line, which is what Ronald Reagan did in the 1980s, no offense. Down 14-3, Caleb Williams finally threw his first couple touchdown passes of his NFL career, but in between those 2 touchdown passes, he had a sack fumble, which the Colts turned into a touchdown to make it 21-9. After Williams' second touchdown pass, the Bears kicked it away and never got the ball again as the Colts ran out the clock in one of the best low-scoring games I can ever remember. Seattle versus Miami. Remember when I was talking about how Anthony Richardson and Caleb Williams were bad, but they're fun? Yeah. Skylar Thompson is bad and he sucks to watch. The absolute worst type of quarterback. And his suckitude as a quarterback was on full display, as, spoiler alert, the Dolphins could muster only 3 points despite having a bunch of great skill players. The Seahawks used this to their advantage, with their only error being a field goal given up after an interception by Geno Smith on an extremely short field. But Geno atoned for it by finding DK Metcalf for a long touchdown, and the game was never in doubt. Even after the Seahawks kept missing field goals and punting and losing yards, Skylar Thompson's such a pussy, he wouldn't even throw the ball deep on a Hail Mary. He eventually would get benched for Tim Boyle, who is the owner of the longest running scam ever. I don't know how this dude was a college quarterback, let alone an NFL quarterback. I guess it pays to be tall and white. Not even after a Geno Smith interception in the end of the third quarter did it feel like the Dolphins had a chance in hell of winning this game, and they didn't. The Seahawks eventually went up 24-3 on a touchdown run, and that was basically all she wrote. The Dolphins should sign Colin Kaepernick in order to end racism. Carolina versus Las Vegas. Once again, we find that Andy Dalton has no soul because he single-handedly destroyed Bryce Young's career for good. The Raiders stood absolutely no chance as Dalton was dropping dong all over the place. Seriously, it was incredible, especially on his touchdown pass to Adam Thielen to make it 21-7. I mean, good lord, he was just ripping dimes. The game was basically over at halftime. Panthers added a couple field goals and a touchdown run to make it 33-7. I have no idea why the NFL channel kept this little clip. Oh, there's a reason why. Gardner Minshew made sure to be a true American by padding his stats in garbage time. Both good and bad, by the way, with an interception and a couple touchdown passes. The final score was 36-22 as Panthers coach Dave Canales ran off the field handsomely and muscularly, good lord, that's a good looking man, to celebrate his first ever win as a head coach. Detroit versus Arizona. Detroit Detroit struck first with a touchdown run before Arizona responded themselves with a Marvin Harrison Jr., son of Marvin Harrison Sr., touchdown to tie it at 7, but that's as close as the game would get. The Lions went up 13-7 and then 20-7 just before halftime thanks to an amazing Boise State-approved hook and ladder play. The Ravens kicked a field goal, though, to make it 20-10. This is how a man throws interceptions. I'm very proud of Kyler Murray, even though he's only 4'2". Jared Goff threw a bad interception, which set up Arizona with great field position, but they turned it over on downs. But the Lions said, you know what, we're classy guys. We'll turn it over on downs right back for you. Cardinals finally made it a one-possession game with about 4 minutes left, but the Lions then ran out the clock thanks to a sneaky first down run by Jared Goff to improve to 2-1. San Francisco versus the Rams. Well, surely with all the Rams' injuries at the receiver position, Aaron Donald retiring, being 0-2, and the 49ers being amazing, this game was over after the 49ers went up 14-0 early on. Or was it? The Rams responded to make it 14-7, then Brock Purdy fumbled the ball out of his ass, but it didn't matter because the 49ers still went up by 14 on Juwan Jennings' third touchdown catch of the game. But Matthew Stafford said, "Suck my balls." Literally, look at these receivers suck in his balls on these throws, which led to another Rams touchdown to make it 21-14. The 49ers went up by 10 with 12 minutes left, but the Rams said, anything you can do, I can do better, and kicked a field goal themselves to make it 7 points. With a chance to put the game away for good, Jake Moody went wide left, and at this moment, it seemed like everybody knew some weird shit was going to happen. Stafford unleashed a bomb to set up the Rams with their game-tying touchdown run with a minute 50. Brock Purdy had great numbers on the day, but he took a terrible sack here. Thanks to a great punt return, the Rams were in great position for the game-winning field goal, which is exactly what they kicked. God, it's just so horrible to see the 49ers 1-2, isn't it? God, I hate it so much as an Eagles fan. Wah, wah, wah. Baltimore versus Dallas. Thank goodness the Dallas Cowboys were shoved upon us once again in America's Game of the Week. Jesus, they're so fucking annoying. They haven't won shit in 28 seasons and they still get jammed down our throats. But it makes sense since Tom Brady was announcing them for the third week in a row. The most overrated player in sports history announcing the most overrated team in sports. As for the actual game, the Ravens got up huge on the Cowboys quickly and took a 21-6 lead into halftime. They expanded that to 28-6 on a long touchdown run by Derrick Henry. But after Justin Tucker missed a 46-yard field goal, Dak Prescott gathered the team together and said, I have stats to put up, guys. Motivated to pad Dak's stats so he wouldn't be blamed for the loss, the Cowboys came out with renewed life, putting up 19 unanswered points, including an onside kick recovery, but a couple failed two-point conversions, and a clutch last drive by Lamar Jackson, which included a first down conversion by run and pass. The Ravens were able to hang on to a 28-25 win to get their first win of the season, which is what I predicted would happen because I'm super smart and I never get a game wrong. Just don't look at the video, please. Take my word for it. Kansas City versus Atlanta. The game began with Kirk Cousins throwing an absolute dime for a touchdown, but it doesn't matter because this is the Falcons we're talking about, okay? Even if they picked off Mahomes in the end zone, even though the Chiefs have Matt Nagy as offensive coordinator to weigh Mahomes down with his terrible play calling, and even though the Chiefs sleepwalk through games 80% of the time, this game was really never in doubt because that's just how shit goes. The Chiefs are just at the stage where they're completely unserious about things until the postseason, and they can still win the majority of the time. After going up 8 off of a touchdown pass, Harrison Butker missed the extra point, which is the first time Chiefs fans are angry about him going too far to the right. The Falcons responded with a field goal of their own, and they had a couple possessions with a chance to win the game late, but both times the drives flamed out in the red zone, including the final drive of the game, where on 4th and inches they decided to run the ball sideways for some reason, instead of just quarterback sneaking it, which cost them the game. But this is what the Falcons deserve. This is what they deserve for allowing Tom Brady to come back from a 28-3 deficit in the Super Bowl to completely ruin discourse in sports history forever. Fuck you, Atlanta. Buffalo versus Jacksonville. This was a good old-fashioned belt-to-ass whooping on national television. And the Jaguars have been reeling lately, and you know what you do when you're playing a team that's reeling? You spank them. You spank their asses, and that's what the Bills did in this 47-10 win. This is the type of win that gets coaches fired, and Doug Peterson was already on the hot seat, and I have a feeling shortly after this video is released, he's going to be fired. The game was so bad for the Jaguars that Trevor Lawrence became the first player in NFL history to throw an interception to a legally dead person. In the meantime, Josh Allen continued his MVP season. He was my preseason pick for MVP, not to brag, I'm pretty smart. The game was over at halftime. The teams just exchanged some worthless touchdowns and field goals in the second half. The Bills are now 3-0 and looking like one of the very few teams where they can pass pass the ball this season for whatever reason. Another great performance by Haley Steinfeld's boy toy. Washington versus Cincinnati. The game began with Joe Trubisky finding Jamar Chase for a long touchdown, but Jaden Daniels had one of the best rookie performances of all time, really. Although I see Jalen Hurts have games like this a lot, where he runs for a lot of touchdowns and throws for a lot of touchdowns and people fucking hate him. So in due time, Jaden Daniels will probably get hated on too. But right now, everybody loves him because he's new. Anyway, there were no punts or turnovers in this game. That's the first time that's ever happened. And Daniels unleashed a couple great throws. At one point, it was 21-10, and the Bengals tried to fight back with field goals, but it was worthless because the Redskins, oops, I said the bad word, the Commanders pumped it back up to 15 on Jaden Daniels' first career touchdown pass. Then the Bengals answered back with a touchdown of their own. Washington kicked a field goal. The Bengals responded with another touchdown from Burrow to Chase. I said Chase was due for a big game in my preview. Once again, I was right, but the two-point conversion failed. The Bengals seemed to be in good position, but they could not get a stop, and Jaden Daniels unleashed one of the best throws of the week, of the season really, on 3rd and 7 to Terry McLaurin to put Washington up 12 with 2 minutes left. The Bengals would score another touchdown, but it was fruitless as the onside kick was recovered, and the Bengals are now sitting at 0-3, and Cody Rhodes' legacy is taking a big hit. Every 5 to 6 years, Washington has a respectable season, and it looks like we're in for one of those seasons this year before they automatically regress to being dog shit again next year. And now it's time for my Week 3 awards. My Best Throw of the Week award goes to Andy Dalton on this 31-yard frozen rope to Adam Thielen. I mean, when he released this pass, Adam Thielen wasn't even behind the defensive backs. That's what makes it so incredible, and it just was on a rope, and it was a perfect strike. That's exciting football. That's the type of throws that I want to see more often across the league. The Worst Throw of the Week award goes to my large adult son, Anthony Richardson, Big Tony. I mean, I hate to do this, but just look at the throw. Look at this throw, man. It's just terrible. I mean, his guy is wide open for a first down. This is about as basic of a throw as an NFL quarterback is required to make, and he just completely airmails that shit by like 10 yards over his head. It reminds me of the scene from Not Another Teen Movie where Chris Evans' character is playing quarterback and he ends up just throwing the ball out of field for no reason when his guy's wide open. It's just so terrible. But anyways, that's the Worst Throw of the Week. And the Puppy of the Week award, once again, no surprise here, goes to Scooby. He is on an unprecedented run of dominance that we, quite frankly, folks, have never seen before. And no, it's not rigged at all. My Thursday Night Football prediction for this week, oh goody, we have the Cowboys versus the Giants. Piss versus shit. Alright, anyway, so I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win this because they're obviously the more talented team, even though they're on the road. The other reason is, in recent history, since 2017, the Cowboys are 13-1 against the New York Giants. 13-1. So one of the few areas of dominance Cowboys fans can actually brag about is their dominance over the Giants. And in Dak Prescott's last 11 full games against the Giants, he is 11-0, and the Cowboys have averaged 32.6 points per game in those games. They just have the Giants number. That's why I have Dallas winning this game 35-14.